Great North Woods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, a man accused of sexually assaulting a girl over several years in Rockland has now received his sentence.
Plus, we'll have local reactions to the ongoing trade war and how it's impacting the stock market.
And we'll also hear concerns about proposed funding cuts and how they could impact libraries around the state.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday morning. We'll have those stories and more coming up. I always say the date, what day it is, like Tuesday, because I forget sometimes. It's a way to solidify it in my brain.
There was a day last week that you weren't able to anchor for whatever reason. I think you wrote the midpoint, which is when I say, and it's National whatever day.
Right.
You wrote that it was March or something.
Did
or
I
maybe
really?
I did it, but I was like, oh, I pulled a Craig. I don't know. That's how I've been feeling lately, though.
It's a sign of old age, I guess. I don't know.
There's been so much news lately. It's like, whoa. What day is it?
Easy to get mixed up.
Yeah.
Anyway, happy Tuesday, everyone. It looks like we're going to have a slippery day ahead. We'll have a mix of rain and snow. Around here, they're saying maybe 1 to 3 inches, something like that.
Yep.
If you get up around Millinocket area north of there, they could get several inches before it's all over.
Definitely.
I'm ready for spring, a real spring.
I know. Here's Devin Biggs with that snowy forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Happy Tuesday. The winter weather advisories have been expanded further down toward the south, and they will last until 4 a.m. as we head towards your Wednesday for measurable snowfall that will be on the way. Wind advisories also posted until midnight later on tonight for the areas highlighted here, and gale warnings and small craft advisories posted along the coast. No precipitation, at least just yet, but it is starting to push in from the south and west, so we'll start to see this build in throughout the morning period today, lasting throughout the daytime period in the parts of tonight, but backing off throughout the morning period tomorrow. Let's zoom things out. We have some precipitation off the coast now. We have more precipitation well off to the well off toward the west, and we'll be watching for more of this to build in throughout the daytime period today. But Futurecast showing that snowfall moving in, possibly mixing with some rain at times. Again, the soak continues overnight, but backing off by early Wednesday morning. Gusty winds will be a thing at times today, maybe up to 15 miles per hour. Otherwise, 5 to 10 mile per hour sustained winds. The winds increase to 20 miles per hour tonight and maybe getting close to 30 miles per hour for the daytime period tomorrow. Otherwise, moving forward today, your hourly forecast for the morning and afternoon period showing that snow passing through with temperatures reaching for the 30s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma.
Thank you, Devin. We'll have a look at that 5-day a little later on. First thing this morning, 3 people were injured following a crash yesterday in Newport. Emergency crews responded to a 2-vehicle crash Monday morning at the intersection of Russin Road and Elm Street. The Newport Police Department says 1 vehicle was exiting Russin Road, crossing Elm Street. The other vehicle was westbound on Elm and struck the vehicle crossing the road. Both vehicles rolled over. 3 people were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
Well, meanwhile, a man from Rockland has received his sentence for sexually assaulting a young girl. 45-year-old Kyle Gott has been ordered to serve 5 years of a 10-year sentence. He was charged with gross sexual assault and unlawful sexual contact. According to the Midcoast Villager, Gott was accused of sexually assaulting the victim when she was 12 years old, and it continued for 8 years. The victim and her mother both testified that they think serving 5 years in prison is insufficient for the seriousness of the crimes he committed. Gott has also been ordered to not have contact with children under 18 once he's released, and he must also undergo sex abuse counseling.
Maine Attorney General Aaron Frey is suing the Trump administration for freezing funds that Frey says are used to feed children and vulnerable adults. The suit comes after a letter was received by the state on April 2nd from the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. The letter announced the funding freeze and said it was due to the state's alleged violation of Title IX in educational programming. Frey says in her letter, Rollins threatened, quote, "This is only the beginning," but also said the freeze would not impact programs providing food to children. However, on April 3rd, the Child Nutrition Program of the Maine Department of Education was unable to access several sources of federal funding. Fry says the programs are necessary to feed children in schools, child care centers, and after-school programming, as well as vulnerable adults. He said, quote, "Under the banner of keeping children safe, the Trump administration is illegally withholding grant funds to go to keeping children fed. The president and his cabinet secretaries did not make the law, and they are not above the law. And this action is necessary to remind the president that Maine will not be bullied into violating the law," end quote. In the complaint, Attorney General Fry states the freeze was unlawful, following no legally required procedure to alter congressionally appropriated funds.
Well, stock prices fell sharply again on Monday. The Dow finished down nearly 350 points after President Trump vowed over the weekend to not back off on his trade war. As Brad Rogers found out, some Mainers put the blame squarely on the president, while others put their trust in President Trump.
What's going to happen with the market, I can't tell you, but I can tell you our country has gotten a lot stronger. And eventually, it'll be a country like no other.
We don't have a whole lot of time for it to turn around, and it's dropping faster than it's going to come back.
Lena is reluctant to ask her husband about their 401k retirement account.
Because I don't want to know how far we're down.
Like many retirees, they count on their 401k to help pay the bills.
Sure, it's impacting us. Everything we do now is more expensive than when we came here. We're seniors on a fixed income.
I've decided I'm not going to panic and withdraw.
Dana Roberts says about 20% of his money is in a retirement account. He's leaving it in the hands of his fund manager.
They're probably staying up all night long trying to figure out how to protect the little bit of money that I do have there.
I think a good rule of thumb is to ride it out.
John Paradise, Senior VP at Town & Country Federal Credit Union, says people are concerned about the drop in the stock market.
I think everybody needs to take a deep breath and figure out kind of where they're headed and realize that everyone's financial journey is not a straight line. It's full of bumps, and for some people, this is one of those bumps.
Well, it's tanking. We kind of pretty much knew it was going to happen anyway.
Jay Weaving is about 6 years from retiring, but he's trusting President Trump to turn this around.
It's going to go back up again, but I think in the long run, it's going to work out as long as we can get some manufacturing back in this country.
Others, though, question the president's decision-making.
If he has a strategy, it's the wrong strategy, and I personally think he's half a bubble off. I don't think the man knows what he's doing.
And that was Brad Rogers reporting. Maine's House Republican leader is urging lawmakers to put a cap on the state's general assistance reimbursement that is paid out to municipalities. Representative Billy Bob Falkingham of Winter Harbor presented his bill to the Health and Human Services Committee on Monday. Falkingham is looking to cap the state's reimbursement to any single municipality to 50% of the total state funding allocated for general assistance in a fiscal year. He said the general assistance program was created to be equitable and effective. However, he said from 2019 to 2024, the city of Portland received 80% of the general assistance spending in Maine, which he says affects the sustainability of the program.
General assistance is a good program. It's for people that need it in times of hardship. It's able to be administered at the local level, so it's a very, very good program, and when it's used properly, it works. But it's getting abused, and we need to do something about that.
Falkingham says his bill, LD 1274, ensures state assistance is distributed more evenly across Maine's municipalities. He says it will also encourage those municipalities to explore other methods to assist residents in need, such as private donations, local initiatives, and collaboration with nonprofits.
Well, bills that could change the way Maine's constitutional officers are seated were the subject of a public hearing in Augusta. Senator Joe Baldacci of Bangor and House Republican leader Billy Bob Falkingham of Winter Harbor presented multiple separate bills. Falkingham's bills aim to have these officers elected by popular vote, saying Maine is one of the few states in the nation where the Secretary of State, the State Treasurer, and Attorney General are appointed by the legislature. While this was the system in place in Maine and other states for many years, Falkingham said it no longer reflects the values of modern democracy.
When our constitutional officers are directly elected by the people, they are directly accountable to the Maine voters. This will enhance the legitimacy of our state government as it reflects the will of the people. Direct elections allow Maine citizens to have a direct role in choosing who will represent them.
Hearings were also held for bills that seek to make the state auditor a constitutional officer and have the auditor elected by popular vote.
New building codes take effect in the state yesterday that will impact you if you're planning to build or remodel. The updated Maine Uniform Building and Energy Code came about because of legislation passed back in 2019. A statement sent from the Department of Public Safety says it will ensure that all buildings moving forward meet modern standards for structural integrity, energy efficiency, and indoor air quality. The biggest changes in the updated code are requirements for more insulation in floors and walls and more options to meet energy efficiency standards, which they say can be achieved through various weatherization and energy measures. They say better ventilation and radon protection measures will improve indoor air quality. Dan Burgess, director of the Governor's Energy Office, says, quote, "The updated codes will improve Maine's building stock to be more safe, comfortable, and efficient, reducing our energy consumption and delivering significant cost savings."
Community members and students spoke in support of the Brewer High School Music Department last night as the school committee weighs potential cuts in the upcoming school budget. The school committee was presented the initial budget proposal for 2025 to 2026. Community members and students voiced concerns that the proposal suggested the school department would be cutting the number of music courses in half. But according to the superintendent of schools, Greg Palmer, they are not looking to eliminate any music programs. However, they are considering reducing sections of music courses that are seeing lower enrollment levels.
Now we're looking at, continuing to offer guitar and chorus will still be here. So we're not talking about eliminating the music program or anything like that. We're talking about reducing sections where we have reduced enrollment.
Lots of people enjoy choir. Even though we have a very small class, we're all very close to each other, and she cares about us a lot.
We also spoke with the immediate past president of the Maine Music Educators Association, who says maintaining robust music programs in schools is not just about fostering future musicians. He says it's about ensuring students have access to a well-rounded education that nurtures their intellectual, emotional, and social development. Superintendent Palmer says they hope interest in the courses they are considering reducing goes up, in which case they would respond appropriately in future budgets.
Yeah, I mean, it does wax and wane as the years go on.
Yeah.
But it's so true. Those music programs, not all of those kids are going on to want to go to Berkeley and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it benefits you in other ways.
And at this time, the budgets are real tight too,
Yeah.
so they're snipping here and there.
I know.
Yeah.
The arts programs are usually the first to get snipped. The time now is 6:13. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, we'll hear how funding cuts proposed by President Trump could impact libraries around the state.
But first, another check of that weather forecast. A messy day ahead today. We can expect a mix of rain and snow, just snow in some areas. Highs around 39 degrees. Mostly cloudy with snow showers overnight, with lows dropping down to the low 20s. Tomorrow, some flurries in the morning, otherwise a partly cloudy day with highs near 41. We'll be right back.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Make Easter moments magical with the Gold Bunny from Lindt.
This week on GMA, it's a star-studded lineup that'll have you
begging for more.
With Anthony, Marseille, Ramon, Bryce, and of course, Cheryl.
Ooh, what a morning.
This week, live on
Good Morning America.
Put a little more cash in your bank. Save money with half-off deals at foxbangor.com.
It's iHeartRadio Week. we welcome some of the biggest names in music.
It's Lady A.
I look forward to seeing you guys. Contestants play alongside their favorite artists. It's Jason Derulo, JoJo, and Andy Grammer.
I'm really good at this game.
Yes!
It's time for the Wheel of Fortune.
Weekdays at 7 on ABC 7.
Maine's libraries are facing uncertainty after the Trump administration called for the reduction and potential dismantling of the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Our Callie Warren has more.
So we'll see what happens. A lot of it is just uncertainty at this point. We don't know exactly how it will affect us.
It's a turbulent time for Maine libraries. On March 14th, an executive order from the Trump administration called for the reduction of the Institute of Museum and Library Services, or IMLS, which provides federal funding to the Maine State Library. While many local libraries aren't directly federally funded, directors say they do rely on state library funding for some programs and amenities.
And that was the sole federal agency for libraries. The Maine State Library gets about $1.5 million in federal funding, and they use that to support a lot of statewide programs that we use, that almost every library in the state uses.
Library directors are concerned that they could lose what they say are vital services to their community, like Wi-Fi services and the interlibrary loan system.
It does help fund our fiber internet service as well as our interlibrary loan van, the book deliveries between libraries. If that were to be affected by the cuts in funding, it would directly impact what our community has access to.
The Maine Attorney General, along with 20 other state AGs, has sued the Trump administration for the IMLS reduction. According to State Librarian Lori Fisher, quote, Maine State Library continues to provide our normal services and resources to Maine residents as usual. We are awaiting further guidance from IMLS, unquote. Callie Warren reporting for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, in other news this morning, a waste management facility in Hamden took an important operational step forward on Monday morning. For the first time in nearly 5 years, the Hamden Trash Plant, now known as Municipal Waste Solutions, received a delivery of solid waste. According to a spokesperson from the plant, yesterday signifies the next step in waste solutions for the region. The facility is slated to serve over 100 communities in the area. The plant originally shut down in May of 2020 due to financing issues and changed hands multiple times before being taken over by Innovative Resource Recovery back in 2023.
Eighth graders from across Maine gathered in Augusta yesterday for the state's 29th annual Girls' Day at the State House. As Jody Hersey tells us, this was an opportunity for these young ladies to see for themselves what it might be like one day to become a lawmaker in Maine.
100 eighth grade girls got to see firsthand what it is like to work as a lawmaker in Augusta as part of Girls' Day at the State House. It is hosted by the Maine Women's Lobby and the Maine Women's Education Fund.
All of these girls are doing a mock public hearing on a piece of legislation, a real piece of legislation sponsored by Senate President Maddie Daughtry that would start all of the high schools in Maine at a later start time at 8:30 a.m.
The students in attendance got the opportunity to have their voices heard in favor or against the proposed legislation.
My name is Lilith Every from Jefferson, and I am in opposition of this bill.
Surrey student Isana Oxman served on the mock committee, listening to the testimony of other students.
I don't know, I was really I couldn't decide where I stood on it.
While fellow mock committee member Ayanna John of Lewiston made a motion that was seconded for the bill to proceed.
Because I believe anything to make life sort of easier for this generation of teenagers would be essential, because this generation struggles a lot.
Participant Ainsley Clemens was thrilled to watch it all unfold.
So I'm really glad that we get the opportunity to do this because I really want to make a change.
Volunteers say that's exactly what Girls' Day at the State House is all about.
The goal here is for all of these young women to see themselves in these roles. We want them to see themselves as lawmakers. The State House complex is theirs. It belongs to Maine people.
In Augusta, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
That's the future generation. All right, the time now is 6:20. After the break, a significant rebound to end the day for tech stocks yesterday, but concerns on the horizon for the auto industry.
We'll have all the latest business news coming up in Fox Means Business right after this.
Mira Joy, the overwhelming relief after Miralax helps you go. Miralax works naturally with the water in your body, putting you in a supernaturally good mood. Miralax, free your gut to free your mood.
Tanning season is here, and Gold Star Cleaners is the place to tan, with top-of-the-line beds and booths. The best part? No membership is required, and tanning packages don't expire for 2 whole years. Gold Star Cleaners locations with tanning are open from 7:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day, so you can tan on your time. Shop our extensive line of lotions and enjoy free Winkies for the best eyewear protection in the industry. Buy 5 visits or more and receive a free packet of lotion, a great way to test new and different tanning lotions while supplies last.
Get moving this spring with comfortable, functional footwear from Comfort Shoes and More. From tailored fittings to shoe modifications and custom orthotics, their team of experts are trained in podorthics and will help you find the perfect fit. From running to walking, casual or dress, you'll find today's top brands: Hoka, Brooks, Keen, Ariat, Merrill, and more. Don't let your feet hold you back from doing the things you love. Take the drive to Newport for a sit and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
Fancy Feast presents our latest chef-inspired creation, Fancy Feast Gems. This rich pyramid mousse pâté puts mealtime in a whole new light and turns the everyday into extraordinary. Fancy Feast Gems. Love is in the details.
Welcome back, everyone. Sorry about that.
I made a bad
Cracks
joke.
me up. Yesterday was a wild day for the markets following last week's bear market plunge.
Fox Business Network's Madison Allworth has the story and more on Fox Means Business.
A volatile market session with wild swings. We ended the day with the Dow down about 1%, the S&P 500 down about 0.25%, and a glimpse of green coming from the NASDAQ, finishing in positive territory. This is a significant rebound for the tech-heavy index after plunging into bear market territory at the end of last week. Meanwhile, the automotive industry may be heading towards a head-on collision. A Detroit advisory firm forecasts U.S. and Canada auto sales could decline by 1.8 million vehicles this year. The firm warns sales could stagnate for the next decade if tariffs stay in place. The CEO of Spirit Airlines is making his final departure, no boarding pass required. The airline announcing that Ted Christie is stepping down as company head, just weeks after the airline exited from bankruptcy. The move comes as the historically budget-friendly airline seeks to transform into a premium option for consumers in a bid to increase margins. And the new Minecraft movie has already built its way past box office expectations. Industry analysts had predicted the film would gross $100 million on its opening weekend. Instead, a Minecraft movie earned $157 million at the box office, making it the largest ever opening weekend for a video game movie. A Minecraft movie joins other video game movies like the Super Mario Bros. Movie and Sonic the Hedgehog that have all performed strongly at the box office. That's a look at business. I'm Madison Allworth.
You gonna go see it?
Well, we were just talking about that. It's kind of big news for kids and teens and adults alike.
Yeah, Minecraft was big like when you were growing up, wasn't it? The video game.
Well, for young adults even too, but I don't know. It's taken, TikTok is just, it's all over TikTok.
Is it really? Okay.
Big deal.
It's got quite a buzz.
I know. Yeah. Okay, the time now is 6:24.
Let's get a full look at that weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much on this Tuesday. Winter weather advisories posted until 4 a.m. Wednesday. In fact, they've been expanded further down to the south for measurable snowfall that will be on the way. Wind advisories also up until midnight tonight, further off towards the south and west. We have gale warnings along the coast, along with a few small craft advisories too. Wave heights for what's being reported right now, 4 feet according to this buoy. And from the looks of things, not many buoys reporting right now, but we can definitely tell based off of the contours that wave heights are still rather high across parts of the Atlantic Ocean. Let's talk about on land. Snow starting to build in slowly but surely. Not a whole lot going on just yet, but we're seeing the clouds push in, and we'll see more active weather moving forward throughout the daytime period today. Let's zoom things out along the coast. We have showers and thunderstorms over parts of the ocean. Again, the snowfall will start to build in moving forward, especially with this area low pressure that will be pushing off towards the east. So we are going to be watching the snowfall moving in courtesy of the system, possibly mixing with a little bit of rain as temperatures rise today. But as temperatures fall later on, we'll switch back to snowfall. The snow continuing into early Wednesday morning before backing off throughout the daytime period on Wednesday. In fact, we'll get some sunshine going by Wednesday afternoon into parts of Wednesday evening before the sun begins to set. As for snowfall, some spots could see around 3 to 5 inches from Bangor down toward parts of Washington County, and maybe around 4 to 8 inches of snow further off towards the north and also to the northwest. Gusty winds may be up to 15 miles per hour today, otherwise sustained winds at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. We could reach up to around 20 to maybe 30 miles per hour later on tonight, and then even through tomorrow, some gusty winds could reach up to about 30 miles per hour at times. Our average high temperature is 50 degrees. We'll be below that today in the upper 30s, with lower 40s Wednesday, upper 40s Thursday, lower 50s Friday. We're back in the 40s Saturday and a Sunday, and then 50s returned again as we head towards your Monday. For today, upper 30s, rain and snow on the way, and that east wind at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Some higher gusts cannot be ruled out. Tonight, lower 20s, mostly cloudy, some snow showers still, and that northwest wind at around 25 miles per hour or so. Tomorrow, lower 40s, some morning snow flurries, otherwise partly cloudy. Northwest wind getting up to around 30 miles per hour. And let's check out your extended forecast. Increasing clouds again for your Thursday with highs in the upper 40s. More rain showers on the way for your Friday with highs in the low 50s, then upper 40s for your Saturday, another chance for rain.
Maine weather is unpredictable. Don't get caught in the dark. NextGen Electrical provides full standby Generac generator installation, including propane and electrical setup, so your home stays powered no matter the weather. And with 0% interest for 18 months, reliable backup power has never been more affordable. We also handle all wiring projects, new construction, renovations, and more. From backup power to full electrical solutions, trust NextGen Electrical to get the job done right. Call NextGen Electrical today and power up with confidence.
No matter where you are in Maine, the new WorkSource Maine Virtual Career Center is here to help. The Maine Department of Labor, along with local workforce boards, has a new virtual career center ready to assist and connect Mainers. Job seekers get free career coaching, training, and job search help. Employers find hiring support and workforce training programs. It's easy, it's free, and it's built for Maine. Visit myworksourcemaine.gov today.
Feel good?
Whether it's coaching kids hockey, pitching in at the animal shelter, building places to call home, or providing the children of our employees with scholarships, the New England Toyota dealers and the thousands of people we employ play a role in lifting up the community. Doing our part to make life a little better is, for us, what matters most. Toyota, let's go places.
When it comes to your home, go to the source. Go to R&B's Home Source in Madison. R&B's Home Source has home comfort, convenience, and savings all wrapped up in one location. From the living room to the dining room to the bedroom, we have some of the best values in furniture and bedding. For the kitchen, R&B's Home Source has top-notch appliances from fridges to ranges, even washers and dryers. And sit back and relax with quality electronics. We service everything we sell too. For your home, go to the source. R&B's Home Source, Lakewood Road, Madison.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
President Trump says he's not pausing his trade war. The stock market on a roller coaster yesterday, the biggest one-day point swing ever, as Americans remain worried about their 401ks. Trump is now threatening China with more tariffs. ABC's Perry Russum is in Washington.
This morning, President Trump showing no signs of pausing his trade war.
We have an opportunity to change the fabric of our country. We have an opportunity to reset the table. on trade.
Trump now threatening even more tariffs against China. After hitting the country with a 34% tariff, China retaliating with 34% tariffs. Trump giving China a deadline of today, saying if China does not withdraw its 34% tariffs, the U.S. will increase tariffs on China by another 50%, bringing the tariffs on China effectively to more than 100%.
We've always had the government as the safety net for the markets. And that's gone today because the government is the cause of this crisis.
The Dow on a roller coaster yesterday, spiking in the morning after a false post on social media about Trump putting a temporary pause on the tariffs, then dropping after the White House said that post was not true. Americans worried about their 401ks.
There's nothing I can do. I'm just watching it crash.
JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon warning in a letter to shareholders the recent tariffs will likely increase inflation and are causing many to consider a greater probability of a recession.
There's two places you feel inflation in real time. It's gasoline because they put the signs up every day, so you see what the price per gallon is. And the other is grocery store.
Some Senate Republicans are looking to join Democrats to rein in Trump's tariff power. 7 Republicans now supporting a bipartisan bill that would require Trump to notify Congress of new tariffs, and Congress would have to approve them within 60 days. Majority Leader John Thune says he does not think the bill has a future, saying Trump has indicated he would veto it. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
Well, in other news, China responds to threats of higher tariffs from the U.S. The Chinese Commerce Ministry says the country will, quote, fight to the end if President Donald Trump goes through with plans to add 50% tariffs on Chinese imports. China says the U.S. has no grounds to keep increasing prices on products from its country. President Trump threatened to increase the tariffs on Monday following a retaliatory 34% increase on tariffs for U.S. products to China last week.
The Supreme Court lifting an order on Monday that blocks deportations under a wartime law. The court allowing the Trump administration to use an 18th century wartime law to deport Venezuelan migrants, but also saying that they need to get a court hearing before they're taken from the U.S. The court adding that the administration needs to give Venezuelans who are accused gang members, quote, reasonable time to go to court. The decision seemingly barring the Trump administration from immediately resuming flights, which last month took hundreds of migrants to an El Salvadorian prison. The flights came after President Trump used the Alien Enemies Act for the first time since World War II to justify the deportations, after he proclaimed the Tren de Aragua gang as an invading force. And coming up on the second half of the newscast, in what will be its 8th sequel, the latest Mission Impossible movie has a release date.
We'll have that story and more in business and the show business segment coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Purple Co. has just opened its doors. Dive into the best pricing in town on all your favorite products. With knowledgeable staff and top-notch products, Purple Co. has got you covered. Join us for the Ultimate 420 event on April 19th, filled with exclusive deals, giveaways, and fun. Stop by and check us out today.
Need a trusted local contractor? Residential Roofers has been serving your community for over 30 years, specializing in groundwork, roofing, siding, windows, and doors. From premium materials to expert craftsmanship, we protect your biggest investment. And now we're offering something special. Scan the QR code on your screen to schedule your no-obligation free estimate and receive $250 off your first project. Don't wait. This offer won't last long. Residential Roofers. Quality you can trust, savings you'll love. Call or scan now.
Lincoln Power Sports. The Rev and Ride sales event is on. Kick up some dirt on unbeatable deals. With financing as low as 1.99% and rebates up to $1,500. The Rev and Ride sales event won't last long. Visit us at Lincoln Power Sports now through May 31st, located at 265 West Broadway in Lincoln.
Would you or your organization like to stay informed about current full-time job openings at ABC7 and Fox 22? Email us at tv7jobs@wvii.com or write to us at 371 Target Industrial Circle, Bangor, Maine 04401, and we'll gladly add you to our list. ABC 7 and Fox 22 are proud to be equal opportunity employers.
Purple Co. has just opened its doors. Dive into the best pricing in town on all your favorite products. With knowledgeable staff and top-notch products, Purple Co. has got you covered. Join us for the Ultimate 420 event on April 19th, filled with exclusive deals, giveaways, and fun. Stop by and check us out today.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. It's also National Empanada Day.
I love these.
Give me some of those.
I love these, but I also love any food that you can just walk with.
Yeah.
You can walk away with.
We had Burrito Day on Friday.
Yep.
Now we have Empanada Day.
I know. It's like a Uncrustable, except not an Uncrustable or like, you know, those little sandwiches, but, you know, handmade and delicious.
Yeah.
Even if you've never tried empanadas, there's a good chance you've had one of their distant cousins, maybe like the Polish pierogies or Japanese gyoza. Originally, though, empanadas are from Spain, and now they exist in over 30 countries in some shape or form. These are Spanish or a Latin American pastry. They're called a turnover, with a variety of savory ingredients, which are they're deep fried or baked.
Kind of usually like a cornmeal crust, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. So yummy, yummy, yummy.
I know, it's kind of flaky a little bit.
Yeah. I love all that kind of Mexican food kind of stuff.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
All right, time for history. It was on this day in history back in 1766. The first fire escape was patented. At the time, just being a wicker basket on a pulley and chain.
Fire escape used very loosely.
Put the baby in the wicker basket and lower him down.
I guess
hey,
so.
whatever it takes.
And then, yeah.
In 1913, the 17th Amendment, which calls for the direct election of U.S. senators by voters of the states, was ratified. And in 1920, the Venus de Milo, the ancient statue commonly thought to represent Aphrodite, was found in pieces on the Aegean island of Milos. It was later reconstructed and is now on display in the Louvre in Paris. And in 1893, the Critic publication reported that the ice cream soda is America's national drink.
I've never had an ice cream soda.
They used to be huge. Like if you went to the local soda fountain, they would mix those up for you.
Right. Well, I've had a root beer float. Is that technically the same thing?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. I do love root beer.
Yeah.
In 1943, President Franklin Roosevelt, in an attempt to check inflation, froze wages and prices, prohibited workers from changing jobs unless the war effort would be aided thereby the change, and barred rate increases to common carriers and public utilities. Can you imagine that happening now?
Different time.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And in 1990, Twin Peaks, created by David Lynch and starring Kyla MacLachlan, premiered on ABC. Of course, David Lynch just passed away. Yeah. And in 2022, the U.S. Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences banned Will Smith from attending the Oscars for 10 years after he infamously slapped host Chris Rock on stage during the ceremony that year. And on this day, just last year, it's crazy, we had the solar eclipse from Mexico to Newfoundland that plunged 44 million people into darkness.
I watched it from a local garage's parking lot.
I know.
Yeah.
I watched it from the back seat of my friend's Prius.
Yeah, pretty neat. All right, for birthdays today, we have actor Dean Norris, who is 62 years old today. Actress Katie Sackhoff is 45. And actress Robin Wright is 59 today.
You would recognize her as Jenny from Forrest Gump.
She was also the princess in, was it Princess Bride? Not Princess Bride.
No,
what am I thinking
definitely
of?
not. That's Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know, but she was in House of Cards.
Yeah, she's been in tons of things.
I like Katie Sackhoff too. She was in Longmire. I really liked that show. Great show. It was a Netflix show.
All right.
Yeah, happy birthday to them. All right, does look like we're getting some snow, kind of a messy spring day.
Just more of the same,
Blah.
you know, no big deal. Just slow down, drive safe.
Yeah. Here's Devin Biggs with the forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Happy Tuesday. The winter weather advisories have been expanded further down toward the south, and they will last until 4 a.m. as we head towards your Wednesday for measurable snowfall that will be on the way. Wind advisories also posted until midnight later on tonight for the areas highlighted here, and gale warnings and small craft advisories posted along the coast. No precipitation, at least just yet, but it is starting to push in from the south and west, so we'll start start to see this build in throughout the morning period today, lasting throughout the daytime period into parts of tonight, but backing off throughout the morning period tomorrow. Let's zoom things out. We have some precipitation off the coast now. We have more precipitation well off to the well off toward the west, excuse me, and we'll be watching for more of this to build in throughout the daytime period today. But Futurecast showing that snowfall moving in, possibly mixing with some rain at times. Again, a soak continues overnight, but backing off by early Wednesday morning. Gusty winds will be a thing at times today, maybe up to 15 miles per hour. Otherwise, 5 to 10 mile per hour sustained winds. The winds increase to 20 miles per hour tonight and maybe getting close to 30 miles per hour for the daytime period tomorrow. Otherwise, moving forward today, your hourly forecast for the morning and afternoon period showing that snow passing through with temperatures reaching for the 30s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma?
Craig was right. She was right. Robin Wright was in The Princess Diaries. And
that's a mouthful, huh?
The Princess Bride. Oh, I got them wrong.
She was in The Princess Bride.
She was in The Princess Bride.
Yeah, Princess Buttercup was her character.
Right. I love that film, too.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay, for more movie film news and for the latest on what's happening in Hollywood,
here's ABC's Melissa Adon.
I've appointed you sole heir to my estate, which you may come into sooner rather than later.
Wes Anderson is back. The first trailer is out for his upcoming espionage film called The Phoenician Scheme. It follows a father-daughter duo played by Benicio del Toro and Mia Threepleton. The rest of the star-studded cast includes Tom Hanks, Scarlett Johansson, Bryan Cranston, and Michael Cera. Look for it in theaters May 30th.
If we want to bring the world back from the brink, we have to deal with him.
Your mission, should you choose to accept, is to check out the new Mission Impossible trailer. Final Reckoning is the 8th installment in the action franchise, which has become known for death-defying stunts. The movie picks up where Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning left off in 2023 and has star Tom Cruise facing his most impossible mission yet. Final Reckoning hits theaters May 23rd.
At the end of the week, you will be an entirely different person.
Sunday's season finale of The White Lotus broke records for the HBO drama. Episode 8 of Season 3 drew in 6.2 million viewers, a 30% jump over the previous series record, which was just set by last week's episode. The rock world is mourning the death of Clem Burke, the drummer for Blondie, who passed away from a battle with cancer. He was named one of the greatest drummers of all time by Rolling Stone. Burke was 70. And happy birthday to Ezra Koenig. The Vampire Weekend frontman turns 41 today. And that's what's happening in Hollywood. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
All right after the break, Tyler Cruz will have our sports updates.
Don't go away.
It was like 8 o'clock and Rick's not home yet. I called his phone and there was no answer. My front doorbell rings. I knew the minute I heard the doorbell what was on the other side. They knew that Rick was driving 8 miles an hour and the brakes were engaged and the person that rear-ended him just wasn't paying attention. Unless you're looking straight ahead, everything else you do is distracted driving. If this could help one family, time well spent. Nobody should have that knock on the door.
Your favorite restaurants were half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
Located on Wilson Street in Brewer, Yoshi Japanese Restaurant, where you'll find only the best sushi, Asian favorites, and specialty crafted cocktails that will satisfy anyone. Try tatami seating for an immersive experience. Yoshi Japanese Restaurant, bringing delicious traditions to you.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7.
Great Scott! This is Green Bear 420 in 2010. What kind of trip is this? I gotta get back to 2023. Wait, it's 2015. So much has changed. In 2023, we had a lot more glass, t-shirts, and novelties. It's gonna take a bolt of lightning to get me home. Finally, home at last. Now Green Bear 420, Green Bear Green Care is bigger and better than ever. To be continued.
For your next project, get the materials and services you need to succeed from Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us after Duke's tough loss on Saturday to the Houston Cougars, the first in what could be the only season of watching Cooper Flagg play college basketball has come to a close. The Blue Devils led for most of the game in the Final Four up until the last minute when Houston staged one of the greatest comebacks in Final Four history, erasing a double-digit lead late in the game and then a 6-point lead with under a minute remaining, just over 30 seconds actually. Flagg was terrific in the game. He was then called for a very controversial foul on a late free throw attempt right here, setting Houston up with the game-winning foul shots that they would hit afterwards. An emotional Cooper saying it's not the way they wanted to end it, but what a terrific season it was.
I mean, it was an incredible season. Incredible people, incredible relationships that I'm going to have for the rest of my life. Didn't end the way we wanted it to, but still an incredible year.
Flagg in the loss led all scorers with 27 points to go along with 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. On Sunday, he was named the Naismith National Player of the Year. Add that to the list with the Wooden Award and the AP National Player of the Year and the Oscar Robertson Award, and so on and so forth. We will await his decision on next season, but all signs point to the NBA draft later this summer. Let's stay on the basketball court now. It's been just about a month since the 2025 MPA high school basketball tournament wrapped, and recently the MPA's biannual reclassification plan being approved for next season. There are some pretty big changes. Gone is Class AA. Instead, Class A holds the schools with the highest enrollment, taking in everyone with over 670 students. Brewer, Skowhegan, Messalonsky, and Hamden Academy all remain Class A schools. They get paired up with a few of those AA programs like Bangor, Edward Little. Nokomis, Gardner, and Coney and Lawrence all move down an enrollment class into Class B to join the likes of Ellsworth and Old Town and John Bapst. The 2 Class B reigning state champions, they will be competing in Class C this year. The Caribou Vikings boys and girls. Also moving down with them are the Foxcroft and Bucksport boys, as well as Orono. The Class D schools with 100 kids through 224 enrollment, meaning reigning Class C state champ Penobscot Valley will now be a D school. The reigning D North boys champs from Skank, they stay put, as does Bangor Christian. And the new class being introduced will be called Class S. It's a sub-100 enrollment school with 10 teams in the North region. I caught up with Lucas McNelly from Maine Basketball Rankings earlier on Monday, who says reclassifying is never easy, but the MPA did a pretty good job.
And there's really no perfect way to do it because someone's got to be the smallest team in the region. And I think they did a pretty good job with this and are really looking at the criticisms of previous years and going, okay, what here can we improve?
The 2 main problems the MPA tried to address were the dwindling number of Class AA schools. AA North boys and girls both only had 7 teams total in the region, and they tried to even the playing ground of some of those small school Class D teams. And McNelly says that under 100 class did just that.
This under 100 really will help some D schools become viable and at least feel like they have a chance to compete. That's why we kept seeing all these blowouts in D where people on Facebook were losing their minds. Oh my gosh, 112, 15, what's going on? Well, they're not supposed to be playing each other is what's happening. So we hopefully fix some of that.
All right, looks like it should make for an interesting season. Let's stay with some high school sports now. One of the best sporting events in Maine in the summer is back again this July for the 2025 Maine Shrine Lobster Bowl Classic. The Lobster Bowl is July 19th this year. Kickoff at 4 p.m. Gates open at 1 in Lewiston, again at Don Rue Field. The final rosters for the East and West squads and cheerleaders have been announced. You can find them all at that link on your screen. For the East, Herman head coach Kyle Gallant will lead those seniors to battle against the West, led by Aaron Filio out of South Portland High. The organization and participants, they've set their fundraising goal to $150,000 this year, up from $102,000 raised a year ago. Man, it would be awesome if they hit that. Let's go to the baseball diamond now. 2 of Maine's best Division III collegiate programs going at it Monday at the home of the Bowdoin Polar Bears. The Husson Eagles taking a trip south for a quick 9 innings before Tuesday's snow, rain, what have you. Eagles looking for 5 straight wins, 1-1 in the third. Bangor's Matt Holmes up with 2 runners in scoring position. He rips one into right. That's an RBI single. 2 runs come around. 3-1 Eagles. Same score, same situation. Holmes with a man in scoring position. He beats the shift, and then Akira Warren comes in from second. He slides in and beats a good throw. That makes it 4-1 Eagles. Guess who now? Later on with Warren on second. Holmes with an inside-out swing goes the opposite way. That's a seeing eye single, and Warren hustles all the way around to score again. Husson goes on to win. 6-1 is the final, and that is the Eagles' 5th straight victory. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
For the best LiftMaster openers at real prices, call PDQ Door first. Hi, I'm Dave from PDQ Door. For emergency service, routine maintenance, and tune-ups, make PDQ Door your first call. Learn more at pdqdoor.com, where we sell the best and service the rest.
Did you know that 50% of the air you breathe in your home is air that comes from Hafford Basement Systems? All things basementy. A wet, damp basement is a real problem. It can damage your valuables, worsen asthma and allergies, and affect indoor air quality. We'll transform your basement into a dry, usable space and improve the health of your entire home. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems for all things basementy.
Let your creativity run free at the Creative Arts Center, where we offer fun and affordable activities for all ages. Birthday parties, pottery wheel classes, painting lessons, or just for the fun of it. Get fired up for glazing projects as well as acrylics. We offer a wide selection of ceramic products for you to choose from, and we have thousands of pieces ready to paint. We are a Paragon kiln dealer and a Laguna Clay distributor. Stop by the Creative Arts Center today, located just off the Joshua Chamberlain Bridge in Brewer. The Creative Arts Center, where your only limitation is your imagination.
Hi, I'm Dave from PDQ Door. For over 30 years, we've been delivering top-notch service to the state of Maine. We're proud to be your trusted and first choice for garage door repair and LiftMaster openings. Visit us online at pdqdoor.com, where we sell the best and service the rest.
Now here's meteorologist Evan Biggs with our 5-day forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much on this Tuesday. Winter weather advisories posted until 4 a.m. Wednesday. In fact, they've been expanded further down to the south for measurable snowfall that will be on the way. Wind advisories also up until midnight tonight, further off towards the south and west. We have gale warnings along the coast, along with a few small craft advisories too. Wave heights for what's being reported right now, 4 feet according to this buoy. And from the looks of things, not many buoys reporting right now, but we can definitely tell based off of the contours that wave heights are still rather high across parts of the Atlantic Ocean. Let's talk about on land. Snow starting to build in slowly but surely. Not a whole lot going on just yet, but we're seeing the clouds push in, and we'll see more active weather moving forward throughout the daytime period today. Let's zoom things out along the coast. We have showers and thunderstorms over parts of the ocean. Again, the snowfall will start to build in moving forward, especially with this area low pressure that will be pushing off towards the east. So we are going to be watching the snowfall moving in courtesy of the system, possibly mixing with a little bit of rain as temperatures rise today. But as temperatures fall later on, we'll switch back to snowfall. The snow continuing into early Wednesday morning before backing off throughout the daytime period on Wednesday. In fact, we'll get some sunshine going by Wednesday afternoon into parts of Wednesday evening before the sun begins to set. As for snowfall, some spots could see around 3 to 5 inches from Bangor down toward parts of Washington County, and maybe around 4 to 8 inches of snow further off towards the north and also to the northwest. Gusty winds may be up to 15 miles per hour today, otherwise sustained winds at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. We could reach up to around 20 to maybe 30 miles per hour later on tonight, and then even through tomorrow, some gusty winds could reach up to about 30 miles per hour at times. Our average high temperature is 50 degrees. We'll be below that today in the upper 30s, with lower 40s Wednesday, upper 40s Thursday, lower 50s Friday. We're back in the 40s Saturday and the Sunday, and then 50s returned again as we head towards your Monday. For today, upper 30s, rain and snow on the way, and that east wind at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Some higher gusts cannot be ruled out. Tonight, lower 20s, mostly cloudy, some snow showers still, and that northwest wind at around 25 miles per hour or so. Tomorrow, lower 40s, some morning snow flurries, otherwise partly cloudy. Northwest wind getting up to around 30 miles per hour. And let's check out your extended forecast. Increasing clouds again for your Thursday with highs in the upper 40s. More rain showers on the way for your Friday with highs in the low 50s, then upper 40s for your Saturday. Another chance for rain.
Mira Joy, the overwhelming relief after Miralax helps you go. Miralax works naturally with the water in your body, putting you in a supernaturally good mood. Miralax, free your gut to free your mood.
The Lucerne Inn and Ryan's Pub is world-renowned for beautiful dining with a delicious view. Come and enjoy the experience of their all-you-can-eat seafood dinner every Friday night, now through April, with award-winning seafood dishes and discounts for seniors and veterans. Call to make your reservation or order for takeout. Treat your taste buds with the flavors of the sea during Seafood Fridays, only at the Lucerne Inn. Beautiful dining with a delicious view.
Tanning season is here, and Gold Star Cleaners is the place to tan, with top-of-the-line beds and booths. The best part? No membership is required, and tanning packages don't expire for 2 whole years. Gold Star Cleaners locations with tanning are open from 7:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day, so you can tan on your time. Shop our extensive line of lotions and enjoy free Winkies for the best eyewear protection in the industry. Buy 5 visits or more and receive a free packet of lotion, a great way to test new and different tanning lotions while supplies last.
Make Easter moments magical with the Gold Bunny from Lindt.
It's iHeartRadio Week. We welcome some of the biggest names in music. It's Lady A. I look forward to seeing you guys. Tune in April 7th to the 11th.
It's time for the Wheel of Fortune
on ABC7.
It was a stunning true crime.
She was so excited.
And then
Molly's body was found
wearing her engagement ring.
If there's one piece of smoking gun evidence, it's not a gun, it's a cell phone.
Bad Romance, tonight on ABC.
After fine-tuning their skills and their bot, a robotics team in Bangor is gearing up for an international competition. In a little over a month, the All Saints Catholic School team, Blitz, will head to Dallas to compete in the VEX Robotics World Championship. The team will be one of only 4 teams from Maine headed to the competition. According to their coach, Casey Murphy, the team is a mix of program veterans and new recruits, but they've all worked extremely hard to get to where they are.
Everyone on the team is working all the time. There's never, you'll never see anyone just sitting in a corner doing nothing.
The team is asking for donations to help them get to the VEX Robotics World Championship. If you would like to donate, you can head to allsaintsmaine.org/donate.
Good luck to them.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
exciting.
These robotics courses, I don't even think they're courses.
Yeah.
What are they? They're groups in schools, and they're really just showing kids how far they can go.
I wish they had that when I was a kid.
I know, right? The technology is changing.
Yeah.
All right, it looks like we are running out of time for this hour. We'll start a new hour of Good Morning Maine next on Fox 22. If you missed anything and you want a quick check online, you can always head to foxbangor.com.
We thank you so much for joining us and hope you have a wonderful day.
Get moving this spring with comfortable, functional footwear from Comfort Shoes and More. From tailored fittings to shoe modifications and custom orthotics, their team of experts are trained in podorthics and will help you find the perfect fit. From running to walking, casual or dress, you'll find today's top brands: Hoka, Brooks, Keen, Ariat, Merrill, and more. Don't let your feet hold you back from doing the things you love. Take the drive to Newport for a sit and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
Winter is a time to get outside and enjoy all that Maine has to offer. And when it's time to come inside, rest assured everything's toasty because of your Fujitsu heat pump from Valley Home Services. The comfort and warmth of home means more on days like these. Push a button and you'll be snuggling up on the couch in no time. Valley Home Services offers reliable rebates, significant energy savings, and expert installation. Embrace the comfort of Fujitsu heat pumps from Valley Home Services. Call or click today.
Hello, this is George Whelan with Down East Direct Cremation. Now, anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, from the comfort of your desktop or the convenience of your mobile device, you can summon transport and arrange a simple, affordable, respectful Down East Direct Cremation for your deceased loved one. just by using the button exclusively at downeastdirectcremation.com. All you need is the location address of the person who has died, their vital statistics information, a valid credit card for payment, and that's it. No need to pick up the telephone, no need to answer a bunch of questions, no need to come into the store, and it's still just $9.75 complete. It's so easy, even I can do it. For more information, visit us at downeastdirectcremation.com or call us at 207-225-5332. Simple, affordable, respectful. The button, only at downeastdirectcremation.com.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Good morning, America. Turmoil over the president's tariffs, Prince Harry in London, and Jurassic Park meets Game of Thrones.
Good Morning Maine.
Today on Good Morning Maine, a man accused of sexually assaulting a girl over several years in Rockland has received his sentence.
Plus, we'll also have local reactions to the ongoing trade war and how it's impacting the stock market.
And we'll hear concerns about proposed funding cuts and how they could impact libraries around the state. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us. We'll have those stories and a lot more coming up over the next hour. But first, to check out that forecast, kind of important. It looks like we have some winter weather moving into the state once again. We'll see some more snow as the morning rolls along, probably starting mid-morning and then continuing through the afternoon. Not a huge storm by any means, maybe 1 to 3 inches around our neck of the woods. But as you get up to around Millinocket and go north from there, they could receive more.
Totally. Here's Devin Big.